6 months after humanity walked away from the Galactic Council former council leader, Vexstar stood in his private chambers staring at reports that made his 4 eyes hurt. The numbers were impossible, yet they kept appearing on every screen, every datapad, every desperate message from member worlds. The Veltari Stock Exchange crashed again, his aide reported nervously. Without the human quantum computers, their financial algorithms cannot process interstellar transactions fast enough. Trade delays are causing system-wide economic collapse. Vexstar tail lashed against his desk, sending several datapads flying across the room. They were primitives. How could primitives cause this much damage by simply leaving? The aide was a young Korthek named Kilmar, who had 6 legs that were always shuffling when he was nervous. Sir, our analysts believe the humans design their technology with deliberate dependencies. When they removed their components, entire systems failed. That is impossible. Vexstar growled. We examined their technology thoroughly before accepting it with respect, sir. We examined what they showed us. Our Science Council now believes the humans were selectively sharing information. They never gave us the complete designs. Vexstar wanted to roar, but the sound died in his throat. The evidence was mounting like a mountain of shame. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations were discovering just how much they had depended on human innovation without even realizing it. The Zethlan were facing mass starvation as their agricultural systems failed without human expertise. The floating cities of Merthala were literally falling from the sky because their gravity generators had been quietly dependent on human-designed stabilizers. Even the Council-owned communication network was breaking down. What about the medical crisis on Zarian? Prime Vexstar asked, though he dreaded the answer. 14 million dead and rising. The plague that human doctors cured 3 years ago has returned? Without access to human medical databases, our healers cannot recreate the treatment. The irony was more bitter than poison. For decades, the Council had dismissed humans as useful servants, good for basic labor and simple services, but lacking the intellectual sophistication of truly advanced species. Now, with humans gone, they were discovering that human innovation had been quietly holding galactic civilization together. A priority communication chimed on Vexstar desk. The caller identification showed Ambassador Nexhera from the Zethlan Collective, one of the Council founding members. Her insectoid face appeared on the screen, looking desperate. To Vexstar, my people are dying. We need to contact the humans immediately. The humans have cut all communications. They refuse to respond to any Council transmissions. Then send a ship to Earth. Offer them whatever they want. Full Council membership with voting rights, technology sharing agreements, anything. Vexstar mandibles clicked in frustration. 3 ships have already tried. The humans turned them away at their system borders. They will not even allow our vessels to approach their homeworld. Through his office windows, Vexstar could see the great Council chamber, where empty seats now marked humanity absence. The chamber that had once been filled with the proud voices of dozens of species now echoed with worried whispers and desperate plans. His personal communicator buzzed with an encrypted message. The sender was listed simply as a friend, which usually meant it was from one of his intelligence contacts. The message was brief. The humans are building something in their home system. Something big. Suggest immediate diplomatic contact before it is too late. Vexstar stared at the words, feeling cold fear creep up his spine like ice water. What were the humans building? And more importantly, what were they planning to do with it? Another message arrived, this one from the Korthek Mining Guild. 6 more asteroid mining operations have shut down without human gravity technology. Our production is down 70%. Then came a message from the Merthala floating cities. 3 more cities have crashed. Evacuation ships cannot keep up with the failures. The messages kept coming, each one bringing news of another disaster, another system failure, another piece of galactic civilization crumbling without human support. The species that had dismissed humans as primitives were learning a hard lesson about what primitives could accomplish when they put their minds to it. Vexstar called an emergency council session, but only half the delegates showed up. The others were too busy dealing with crises on their homeworlds. The chamber that had once been filled with arrogant laughter now contained only worried faces and desperate voices. We must contact the humans somehow, the Veltari delegate said, her jellyfish body pulsing with stress patterns. Our entire economic system is collapsing. They will not talk to us, the Korthek Representative replied, his fur changing colors rapidly with anxiety. We insulted them, drove them away, treated them like children. Now they treat us like we do not exist. What if we offered them leadership positions, former positions of authority? Vexstar suggested, though the words tasted like bitter medicine in his mouth. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It was Elder Kickstar of the Ancient Preservers, a species so old they rarely participated in debates, the insectoid being multifaceted. Eyes reflected the chamber lights like jewels. You still do not understand, the old being said slowly. The humans do not want positions in our failing system. They are building their own system, one that works better than ours. What do you mean? Vexstar asked, though he feared the answer. Long-range sensors detect massive construction in human space, new shipyards, new technologies, new alliances with species we expelled or ignored. They are not trying to rejoin galactic civilization, they are replacing it. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Galactic Council was not just losing humanity, they were losing their place as the center of galactic civilization. Humanity was building something new, something better, and other species were already choosing sides. Vexstar looked around at the worried faces of the remaining delegates. The mighty Galactic Council that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was crumbling, and it was all because they had been too proud to treat humans with basic respect. The primitives were showing the advanced species how civilization was really supposed to work. Admiral SCO Taeyong stood in the command center of Orbital Station Unity, looking out through the massive, clear aluminum windows at Earth below. The blue and green world looked peaceful and beautiful, but around it a network of defense platforms and shipyards worked day and night building humanity future. The station was new, built in the 8 months since humanity had left the Galactic Council. It was bigger than any space station the Council had ever constructed, and it used technology that made their best equipment look like Stone Age tools. Admiral Captain Nam El-Seung approached carrying a report tablet. The latest Council ship just left our outer border defenses that make 17 attempts at contact in the past month. Did they try the usual bribes? Admiral SCO asked without taking her eyes off Earthful membership, permanent seats on their High Council, access to their restricted technology archives, and mutual defense treaties. They are getting desperate. Admiral SCO smiled, but it was not a warm smile. After 3 years of being treated like second-class citizens, the Council desperation was deeply satisfying. But satisfaction was not the goal anymore. Evolution was the goal. Any word from the deep space exploration fleets? She asked. Expedition 7 found 3 more habitable systems beyond. Council Space Commander Park Ji-hun reports first colonies could be established within 18 months. Expedition 12 discovered what appears to be ruins of a civilization that existed before the Council, one that might have had technology the Council never learned about. The implications were staggering. While the Galactic Council had spent centuries getting fat and lazy on their own arrogance, humanity had been learning, adapting, growing. The withdrawal from Council space had not weakened them, it had freed them to become something better. Dr. Zhang Mihe, head of the Human Development Project, entered the command center carrying a sealed case. Admiral, the prototype is ready for final testing. Show me. Admiral SCO said. The case opened to reveal a device no bigger than a human hand. Its surface was covered with patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living metal. It was beautiful and terrible and completely beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. We call it the Unity Drive. Dr. Zhang explained. It does not just allow faster than light travel, it allows faster than light communication, instantaneous resource transport, and real-time coordination. Across unlimited distances, we could manage an empire spanning the entire galaxy from this room. Admiral SCO picked up the device, feeling its surprising warmth. The Council ships still use quantum tunneling for faster-than-light travel, with all the limitations that brings. This makes their entire fleet obsolete overnight. Not just their fleet, their entire model of galactic civilization. Through the command center speakers, a communication request chimed. Captain Nam checked his console and frowned. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. It is Ambassador Khan. The main screen activated, showing the familiar figure of Kong Dae-ho, but he was not wearing his diplomatic uniform anymore. He wore simple farmer clothes, and behind him stretched the green fields of Korea countryside. Admiral SCO, citizens of Unity Station, Humans across our stellar territories. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that made everyone in the command center stop what they were doing. I have been contacted by representatives of 17 different species, not through the Council, but through private secret channels. They want to negotiate separate agreements with humanity. The implications hit Admiral SEO like a physical blow. The Galactic Council was not just losing power, it was falling apart from the inside. The Veltari offer immediate recognition of human territorial claims. The Zethlan promise exclusive trade agreements. The Korthak want mutual defense pacts. Ambassador Kong expression remained neutral, but Admiral SEO could see the satisfaction in his eyes. It seems the galaxy is finally ready to treat humanity as equals, Captain. Nam leaned forward. What are your instructions, Ambassador? Tell them all the same thing, Ambassador Kong replied. Humanity is no longer interested in being part of their broken systems. We are building something better. The transmission ended, and the command center fell quiet. Admiral SEO looked out at the construction happening around Earth. Massive shipyards. We're building vessels that used Unity drive technology, making them faster and more capable than anything in Council space orbital. Farms were producing food for growing populations. Defense networks that could probably destroy the entire Council fleet were coming online. Research stations were developing technologies that would have seemed like magic to the aliens who had dismissed human intelligence. Dr. Jiang Mihe broke the silence. Admiral, the first Unity drive ships are ready for testing. We could establish colonies beyond Council space reach within weeks. Do it, Admiral SEO ordered. And send word to our exploration fleets. I want to know about every habitable system, every resource deposit, every potential ally within 1,000 light years. Captain Nam smiled. It will be done, Admiral. What about the Council species that want to negotiate, Admiral? Thought for a moment. Let them wait. We spent 3 years begging for their respect. Now they can learn what it feels like to be ignored. She turned back to the window where Earth continued its ancient rotation, blue and beautiful and free. The Galactic Council had made the mistake of thinking humans needed them more than they needed humans. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. Humanity was not just surviving their exile from galactic civilization, they were creating a new civilization. One based on cooperation instead of domination, innovation instead of stagnation, respect instead of arrogance. And the galaxy was starting to notice. Captain Kim Jae-won stood on the bridge of the cargo ship New Seoul, watching through the giant windows as the last human outpost in Veltari space grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the black of space. The evacuation was happening faster than anyone had expected, but then again, humans had always been good at packing up and moving when they needed. 2-3 months had passed since Ambassador Kong had sent the message that changed everything. Protocol 7 was not just a plan. It was a complete withdrawal of everything human from Council space. Every person, every machine, every piece of technology that had human fingerprints on it was coming home, sir. We are getting angry messages from the Veltari Trade Commission. Lieutenant Choi Yu-jin reported from her station. Her fingers were dancing across the control panels as more and more complaints came in from alien governments. They want to know why we are taking all the quantum computers from their financial district. We are taking our toys and going home, Captain Kim replied with a smile that was not very nice. Those computers were leased, not sold. The contract is terminated. On screens all around the ship, similar scenes were playing out across dozens of star systems. Human engineers were taking apart the gravity generators they had installed on Korthak mining stations. The aliens had thought these machines were gifts, but they were really just borrowed technology that depended on human maintenance. Human doctors were closing the medical centers that had been treating alien diseases that their own physicians could not cure. Human teachers were packing up their materials from schools, where they had been sharing Earth music and literature and philosophy with young alien minds who would never hear these beautiful things again. The aliens had made one very big mistake in their thinking. They thought humanity needed the Galactic Council more than the Council needed humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Yoon-hae-run, the chief scientist who studied alien biology, came to find Captain Kim in his private office. She was carrying a tablet full of reports, and her face showed the kind of happiness that came from watching enemies suffer. The Zethlan are panicking, she said with barely hidden joy. Without our agricultural specialists, their colony worlds are facing crop failures. It turns out their superior farming techniques do not work on planets with stars that change brightness any. Word from the council Captain Kim asked, even though he already knew the answer. Radio silence. But our intelligence people say some species are starting to ask uncomfortable questions about the quantum computers, specifically why they're stopped working. When we took ours away, Captain Kim allowed himself a small laugh. The aliens had been so busy looking down on human intelligence that they never bothered to understand. Human cleverness, every piece of technology humanity had shared with them, was designed with hidden dependencies. Remove the human parts, and the whole system would fall apart like a house of cards. It was not sabotage exactly. It was just good engineering, human engineering that was smarter than alien engineering, even though they would never admit it. Captain Eugene called from the bridge. Captain, we are getting a priority message from Ambassador Khan. The main screen came to life, showing Daeho face against the backdrop of Earth blue skies. He looked different. Now the diplomatic mask was gone, replaced by something that reminded Kim of old war movies where soldiers came home from battle. All station commanders and ship captains. Daeho voice carried clearly across the empty space between stars. Phase 1 is complete. Every human facility, every human citizen, every piece of human technology has been withdrawn from Galactic Council space. We are officially no longer members of their little club. He paused, and Kim could see the steel in the ambassador's eyes like a sword that had been sharpened for battle. Phase 2 begins now. Cut all communications with Council species. No trade, no aid, no interaction of any kind. Let us see how long their superior civilization lasts without us. The message ended, and the bridge fell quiet. Kim looked out at the stars and wondered what the aliens were thinking right now. Were they celebrating their victory over the primitive humans? Or were they starting to realize that something was very wrong? On his personal communicator, Kim received a private message from his brother, who worked at the orbital shipyards around Earth. The message was short, but it made Kim smile. Construction of the new fleet is ahead of schedule. Stop by when you get home. You need to see what we are building. Kim deleted the message and looked out at the stars again. The aliens thought they had won by driving humanity away, but they had no idea what humans could accomplish when they stopped trying to please everyone else and started working for themselves. Behind them in Council space, the first cracks were already showing. The Veltari stock market had crashed twice in 1 week without human quantum computers to handle the complex calculations. The Korthek mining operations were shutting down as their gravity generators failed one by one on the planet Zarian. Prima plague that human doctors had cured 3 years ago was starting to spread again. The aliens had never bothered to learn how the cure worked. They had just demanded that humans provide it. Now, with no humans to help them, millions would die, but the worst was yet to come. The aliens had spent so long dismissing human contributions that they had never realized how much of their civilization depended on human innovation. Human improvements to their communication systems, human fixes to their transportation networks, human solutions to problems they did not even know they had. Captain Kim activated the ship-wide communication system. All crew members, this is your captain. We are going home to a galaxy that no longer wants us, but we are not going home in defeat. We're going home to build something better, something that will make the Council species wish they had treated us with respect. The new soul turned toward Earth and engaged its faster-than-light engines. Behind them, the Galactic Council was about to learn the most expensive lesson in the history of the galaxy. Never underestimate humans, especially when you make them angry. Ambassador Kang Daeho walked into the giant council chamber for what he did not know would be the last time as a human representative. The massive room was bigger than 10 football fields put together, with walls that reached so high they disappeared into shadows. The ceiling was covered with lights that looked like stars, but they were cold and fake, nothing like the warm sun of Earth. The other aliens were already talking among themselves. When Daeho entered, they made sounds like clicking and buzzing and hissing that the translation machines turned into words, but even without the machines, Daeho could tell they were laughing at something. He had learned to read alien body language after 3 long years of dealing with their attitudes. Behind him walked Park Min-soo, the military man whose hands had scars from old battles on Earth. Min-soo was not tall, but he was strong, and his eyes were always watching for danger. Next to him came Dr. Lee So-ra, the smartest woman Daeho had ever met. She could solve math problems that made alien computers smoke and break down. But none of that mattered here in this place where humans were treated like children. The three humans wore their best black uniforms with the Earth symbol on the chest. Blue and green circle that showed their homeworld. Deho had always been proud of that symbol, but today it felt heavy, like a weight trying to pull him down. To the floor, council leader Vexstar was sitting on his high chair that made him look bigger than everyone else. He was a lizard-like creature with 4 eyes that could look in different directions at the same time. His skin was dark green with yellow spots, and when he was angry, his tail would hit things. Deho had seen that tail break metal tables during heated debates today. Vexstar looked especially pleased with himself. His 4 eyes were all focused on the humans, and his mouth was open, showing rows of sharp teeth. Deho knew this meant trouble was coming. The Veltari delegate floated near the front of the chamber inside a bubble filled with water. She looked like a giant jellyfish with long tentacles that moved like they were dancing. The patterns of light on her body were flashing in ways that made the translator say. She was very amused about something. On the other side of the room sat the Korthek representative. He looked like a bear, but with 6 legs and fur that changed colors. His people were known for being good at digging and mining, but they thought this made them smarter than everyone else, especially humans. There were dozens of other aliens in the chamber. Each one represented a different world or group of worlds. They all had one thing in common. They all thought humans were not good enough to be in their club. Deho cleared his throat and stepped forward to the speaking area. The sound echoed in the big chamber like thunder. Everyone stopped talking and looked at him. Some were trying not to laugh. Honorable Council Leader, Deho said in his most polite voice, humanity wishes to present a proposal for new trade agreements. We have developed quantum computing technology that could help all member species. Our tests show it works 40% better than anything currently used in the galaxy. The moment he finished speaking, the chamber exploded with noise. Aliens were making sounds of disbelief and mockery. The Veltari delegate was flashing so bright with laughter that her bubble looked like a disco ball. The Korthak representative was changing colors so fast he looked like a rainbow having a seizure. Council leader Vexstar raised one clawed hand and the chamber became quiet again. His tail was already starting to twitch, which was never a good sign for anyone. Humans, he said, in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. The primitives think they can teach advanced mathematics to who were traveling between stars when your ancestors were still learning to make fire. Dr. Lee Sora stepped forward holding her research files. She had worked for 2 years on the quantum computer project, staying up late into the night and drinking too much coffee. But her voice was steady when she spoke. Council leader, if you would please examine our data, you will see that our quantum matrices can process information at speeds that exceed silenc. Vexstar roared and his tail slammed down so hard it cracked the stone floor. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet chamber. Humans do not speak unless they are given permission. You forget your place in this council park. Minsu moved slightly forward, his soldier instincts making him ready to protect the others. But there were no weapons allowed in the council chamber. Only criminals and primitive species were forbidden to carry arms for protection. Humans fell into the second category. The lizard leader continued talking, and each word was like a slap across. Deho, face your species contributes nothing to this galaxy except noise and complaints. You take up space in this chamber that could be used by beings who actually matter. Perhaps it is time we reconsidered whether humans deserve to be members of this council at all. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Everyone in the chamber knew what it meant. If humans lost their council membership, they would be cut off from all galactic trade. Their colonies would be left defenseless. Their people would be treated like animals. But something strange happened inside Deho's chest. Instead of fear, he felt something else, something that started small and grew bigger with each insult. It was not anger exactly, it was more like a door closing. A decision being made without words. Around the chamber, other aliens started talking excitedly. The Zephlan delegate was already suggesting they could use human colony worlds as garbage dumps. The Merthala representative wondered if they could take over human space stations for their own use. They talked about humans like they were not even there, like they were just objects to be moved around. Dr. Lee Sora looked at Deho with questions in her eyes. She had spent her whole life believing that intelligence and hard work would earn respect. She was learning that some beings would never see humans As equals no matter what they accomplished. Park Min-soo was watching the exits and counting how many aliens were between them and the door. His military training made him think about escape routes and defensive positions, but his anger was making him think about other things too, things that involved showing these aliens what humans were really capable of when pushed to. Fardeho gathered his papers very slowly. Every movement was careful and precise, like he was performing a ceremony. He did not look angry or upset. His face was calm like a still lake before a storm. The other humans recognized this expression. They had seen it before during the worst moments of Earth history when humans decided they had taken enough. We understand. Your position, Council Leader Daeho said quietly. His voice was so calm it made some of the aliens stop talking to listen. Thank you for making humanity place in this council so very clear. We will consider your words very carefully. He turned and walked toward the exit. The other humans followed him. Their footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. Behind them, the aliens were already celebrating and making plans for a galaxy. Without humans in it, they were too busy congratulating themselves to notice the dangerous quiet that had settled over the three humans as they reached the corridor outside the chamber. Dr. Lee Sora finally spoke. They do not know, do they, what we are really capable of? Park Min-soo smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that made smart people nervous. They are about to find out, he said. Ambassador Kang Daeho pulled out his communication device and pressed a button that connected him directly to Earth Command. This is Ambassador Kang to Earth Command, he said in a voice that sounded like winter wind. Begin Protocol 7. We are coming home. The message traveled faster than light across space to reach Earth, where it would start a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. The aliens in the council chamber had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had pushed humans too far now. They were going to learn what happened when humanity decided to stop playing by other people's rules. President Moon Sang-min stood before the assembled representatives of 43 different species in the newly built Harmony Station. The station was humanity's first diplomatic facility since leaving the Galactic Council, but it was nothing like the cold marble chambers where humans had been insulted and dismissed. This station was built with warm metals and living plants. Its architecture was designed to welcome visitors rather than intimidate them. Large windows showed the stars outside, reminding everyone that they were all travelers in the same vast universe. The beings before President Moon were not the arrogant council members who had treated humanity like children. These were younger species, smaller civilizations, independent colonies that had been ignored or exploited by the council major powers. They had come to humanity not as masters demanding service, but as potential friends offering partnership. Friends. President Moon began, his words automatically translated into dozens of languages. We gather today not to repeat the failures of the past, but to build something that has never existed in galactic history. A truly cooperative alliance of equals. Ambassador Han So-young, formerly Dr. Lee Sora before her promotion, stood beside a holographic display showing the new alliance territorial boundaries. The map was impressive: 43 star systems, 12 major trade routes, and 6 shipbuilding facilities, all connected by humanity revolutionary Unity Drive network. The Terran Alliance offers what the Galactic Council never could, she explained to the assembled delegates: instant communication across unlimited distances, shared technological development, and most importantly, genuine respect for each member autonomy and culture. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Kethron representative, a crystalline being whose species had been enslaved by the Council for mining work, spoke first. The Kethron communes pledge our mineral wealth and deep space knowledge to this alliance. We have waited 3 centuries for freedom from Council oppression. Similar declarations followed quickly. The Yoltar offered their biological expertise. The Nexvari contributed their advanced manufacturing techniques. The Thursdamaran brought their artistic traditions and cultural knowledge. Each species had something unique to contribute, something the Council had dismissed or stolen, but it was the final speaker who made President Moon smile with genuine warmth. Representative Zix Ayla of the Merthala Floating Cities stepped forward, her aquatic suit gleaming under the station lights. The Merthala remember when humans first taught us to stabilize our gravity generators, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the water-filled communication device, you could have demanded payment, tribute, subjugation. Instead, you asked only for friendship. Today, we offer that friendship to your alliance. The formal signing ceremony took 3 hours as each species added their agreement to the Alliance Charter in their traditional manner. Some signed with glowing ink, others carved their commitments into metal plates. De Crystal and Catherine actually grew their signatures into the document itself, creating beautiful geometric patterns that would last forever. When it was finished, President Moon activated the station's central communication system. Throughout Alliance Space Unity Drive, networks carried his words instantly to every world, every ship, every listening post. Today marks the beginning of a new age in galactic civilization, he announced. An age where cooperation replaces domination, where diversity strengthens rather than divides, where every voice matters, regardless of the size or age of the civilization behind. I've paused, looking out at the diverse group of beings who had chosen to stand with humanity. The Galactic Council ruled through fear and hierarchy. The Terran Alliance will grow through friendship and mutual respect. Let the galaxy choose which future it prefers. Unknown to the celebration on Harmony Station, long-range sensors throughout Council space detected the transmission. In emergency session chambers across their territory, Council leaders realized they were no longer facing just the loss of humanity. They were facing the birth of a rival civilization, one that promised everything the Council had failed to deliver. The game had changed completely and humanity was winning, but the most shocking news was yet to come. Within hours of the Alliance announcement, 3 more Council member species announced they were leaving the Council to join the Terran Alliance. The Galactic Council that had ruled for thousands of years was not just losing members, it was being replaced. In his private chambers on the Council homeworld, Vexstar received reports that made his 4 eyes burn with tears of rage and fear. The Terran Alliance controlled more space than the Council did now. Their technology was superior. Their member species were happy and prosperous. Their expansion continued daily. The primitives had become the new center of galactic civilization, and they had done it by treating people with respect, something the Council had forgotten how to do. The great irony was not lost on Vexstar in trying to put humans in their place. The Council had learned exactly where that place was, at the top, leading the galaxy toward a better future. The Great Council chamber had never been so empty. Half the seats stood vacant, their former occupants having either joined the Terran Alliance or declared independence from galactic politics entirely. The remaining delegates looked worried and defeated, nothing like the arrogant beings who had once dismissed humanity as primitive. Council leader Vexstar looked exhausted as he addressed the shrinking assembly. Emergency sessions ran day and night as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Terran Alliance was growing daily, and each new member was a system lost to Council influence forever. The situation is beyond critical, he admitted, his voice lacking the arrogance that had once made him sound so important. The Terran Alliance now controls 40% of known space. Their Unity Drive technology gives them military and economic advantages we cannot match, and they continue to accept new members every day. The Veltari delegate, her financial networks incomplete. Ruin spoke with barely controlled desperation.